is the School of Astrology on the aspects. Well, we also need to learn the basics here. So let's get started. The aspects that we are going to cover in this course are conjunct, opposition, trine, square, sextile, quintile, semisextile, quincunx, semi-square, and sesquicadrat. You may wish to download our desk reference. Please refer to the link in the description below. So you can take notes, because we'll be saying a little bit more in this course than what is on the textbook desk reference. In your chart, you find the star signs, the planets, and the houses. So for every planet, you interpret the placement, the sign in the house ruled by this planet, and its aspects. This is what we are looking at specifically in this lesson. Most of the times, a planet will, of course, have all kinds of connections to other planets, but we also find planets in a chart that do not have aspects. This is a special case because this very quality represented by this planet won't have connections to the other life fields. This is especially tricky to interpret if this happens. Especially if this happens to the sun or the moon, then the person might easily feel lonely. And so in this case, the best thing is to try and find aspects which are not necessarily the main aspects that we cover here, but more refined, specialized aspects. We'll put a link in the description for where you can find more. There's a wealth more out there, but still relations then will be delicate if it's not the main aspects. The aspects that we cover here are the main aspects, and they have strong qualities of connection. In order to find out which quality of connection, even if delicate, this person has to other fields of his or her life, that's also a special case. So always, also please check in every horoscope that you analyze if all the planets do have aspects, and for those who don't, they need special attention in the interpretation. Okay, so the first aspect that we cover is the conjunct, which is a direct meeting of two planets, ideally or precisely in the same degree. It's like an exact meeting, so to say. There is an orbis, as it says, like a deviation from the exact aspect that we can allow, which is plus minus maximum 5 degrees if it applies to the sun and the moon, and 3 degrees deviation for all the other planets and elements of the chart. The meaning of the conjunct is contact, a direct connection of the planets involved and thereby the qualities involved. It's a meeting or a direct encounter of those qualities or the persons or life fields involved. The quality is a sun-like aspect. Other aspects have similarities in their meanings to the other planets. You will see when we continue working through them that they all follow along some qualities of the planets. Now we have an example here, and you see a conjunct of Venus and Saturn in the first house. Now Venus is a planet of love and feminine energy, and of culture and beauty, and it's in Aries here, and so this will be a very energetic beauty. And now if Venus directly encounters Saturn, the happiness and beauty will be suppressed or reduced because this is the quality of Saturn. All right, so Venus will probably be less energetic here, or will be energetic and someone will step on your brake. Now, if you have this constellation, it's that you will generally have the qualities of a very energetic beauty, that someone will step on your brake now and again. And all this love and enjoyment and happiness will be reduced a bit some time and again. This can, though, have positive effects. It can be that Venus in the first house, as we have it here, would indicate great physical beauty. And this might lead the person to develop arrogance. And Saturn will be there to counterbalance this, possibly to create some humbleness. And through life, qualities may balance out so that the beauty is carried with a certain decency and with less arrogance. This can be lived very well, and with all aspects, there is to say that there is the one and the other approach, how to live and approach an aspect. The basic advantage of looking at it from an astrological point of view is that you have the opportunity to figure out what is the underlying quality and motive, and then kind of translate this into your kind of framing, how you wish to go about this issue and life field. If you discover an issue like Saturn in conjunct to Venus, this can be experienced in different ways and quite negatively, of course. And the question is, how would you advise someone or yourself to incorporate the learnings of this constellation and make the best of it? And even create an advantage out of it. So the example that I mentioned would be quite some typical example of such a constellation. Now let's contrast this. And here comes Jupiter. And Jupiter meets Venus in the first house in the same degree or close by. So this will be indicating great beauty, and Jupiter will even enhance it. So it might very well be that the person has a very expansive type of happy nature. It could also mean that the person is well-intended, beautiful, radiant, and energetic. But it could also be too much of it, It could be also that like the pleasures would be experienced too great, and the person would kind of not find the necessity to discipline himself or herself. And this can go wrong quickly. So be careful with interpretation. This looks nice, but not necessarily all things, if too good, come out as an advantage in the personal life. So if you just rely on, I'm just so beautiful and everything goes so easily, then you might just overeat or overly enjoy life, and the sorts and outcomes, overweight and a couch potato, right? So not necessarily this is all good. Okay, the opposition. Now this is the division of the 360-degree circle by 2. And out comes 180 degrees. Then 2 planets are in opposition. Also with the plus minus of 5 degrees for Sun and Moon aspects, and around 3 degrees for all the other planets, the deviation would be allowed. You call this an orbis, the plus minus 5 or 3 degrees, right? The opposition means literally an opposition, or the other, also an opponent. It's not necessarily always nice or uncomfortable, so you basically cannot determine by the aspect as such the sheer quality that it has. The quality of the encounter can be nice or uncomfortable. It can be both. It is, in any case, an opposition, so it depends on the qualities involved that encounter each other. It can also be a partner, so the opposition by itself is immune to the quality. So here we have Venus and Jupiter in opposition. Venus in Taurus will be typically enjoying life and natural beauty, and Jupiter in opposition would in turn create happiness or try to make the best of what is. And now in Scorpio, Jupiter finds very deep and sometimes maybe dark emotion and tries to make the best of it, tries to improve negative conditions. And now this Jupiter in opposition to Venus might be that these qualities meet and make a very nice composition of initiative, like be it for a business, for an NGO or something similar. So this will be a very nice activity that comes out of this maybe. So if this is two people and the one person might bring beautiful natural radiance and energy to the table, like the Venus in Taurus, and the Jupiter person may bring the initiative and both together will create a beautiful project, okay, this is going to be something very nice. So now we see Saturn in opposition to Venus. And here we could say that Venus is still the same in Taurus, nature-loving and interested in beauty and everything naturally beautiful. And it's definitely closer to earthly pleasures, like good food and cooking, for instance, also decoration, beautiful clothes and fashion. Now in opposition, the Saturn will try to humble this down and restrict it a bit. So it might not be that this Venus would dress overly excessive with overly expensive clothes, but rather reduced and elegant, or a little bit more elegant than it would normally opt for. So it would reduce all the activities of Venus down and make it a little bit more humble. All right, so here comes the next aspect. If we divide the 360-degree circle by 3, out comes 120 degrees, which is the trine as an aspect. Same here, the orbis would be 5 degrees when Sun and Moon are involved, and 3 degrees are recommended to be used for all the other planets. The typical astrological software would calculate this for you, so you don't need to work that out in your mind. But please check the orbis that is being used if aspects are displayed. The clear quality of the aspect would only be felt if you work the orbis correctly. The meaning of the trine would be trinity, like the third of a circle, and it's interpreted as the divine, and like the triangle also is the symbol of the divine. And therefore also comes the interpretation harmonious and self-fulfilling. Things that happen by itself, positive things like self-fulfilling things. It's a very nice and supportive and easygoing aspect, this Jupiter-like aspect. Now here we have a trine between Jupiter and Venus. And whenever this happens, this person will be lucky. All right, so this person here with the Venus in the first house in Aries will be a very energetic type of beauty and a lucky person, just sheer lucky. Everything will almost work out by itself whenever the person shows up. This aspect is one of the most prominent and best that you can have in a horoscope. With this aspect, all kinds of other difficulty or difficult aspects would be evened out to an extent. Not totally, of course. So if you see this in a horoscope, congratulations, this is a lucky person. Now, Venus in the first house typically shows a beautiful person with, in this case, because of Aries, energetic beauty. I repeat this often, and you might get bored repeating these things, but it's useful because you will remember much better if you hear it more often. And now this Venus has a trine to Saturn. Saturn in Leo in 5 would have his own quality, and it would be someone who likes rather humble nobleness, like someone who is not much outspoken, but rather on the retreat and always behaves humble and not outgoing at all. So this person would appreciate everything reduced, but very elegant because of Leo. Reduced because of Saturn and elegant because of Leo, all right? And so now this Saturn has a supportive aspect, the trine, to Venus. This means that this beauty will last extremely long, all right? It will be an elegant beauty, it will be carried elegantly. And since Saturn has the tendency to make things last very long and be tough, so this person will be tough and be well able to keep the beauty for a very long time until old age. All right, let's move on. So here we have our next aspect, the square. The square is a division by 4 of our 360-degree circle. And the recommended orbis is 4 degrees for the lights, Sun and Moon, and maybe just 3 for the other planets. The square means everything earthly and real, also the cumbersome, and therefore the main interpretation would be that the aspect is one of tension and difficulty, or stress, or hindrance. It's a Mars-like aspect. Now let's investigate the qualities of a square with a rather rough example. Here we have the moon in the second house in Taurus, which is typically a well-placed moon in a sign that suits the moon. So this would be someone who loves life and nature. And now this moon has a square to Mars in Leo in the 5th. The moon here will be typically interested in everything that has to do with nature and good food and good life, and will have a natural emotionality, natural loving and kind. And now this moon will have a square from Mars. Mars here is in the 5th house in Leo. This means that it's someone interested in everything noble or luxurious or important, and the person would also decide for those qualities and against others, against other qualities in that case. And now this type of decision maker will feel and have tensions toward the moon. And now it's almost irrespective from which sign to which other sign a square between Mars and the moon will appear. It will always be painful for the moon. The square is a Mars aspect, and Mars always hurts moon, right? The moon will be hurt by Mars. Now the basic qualities are important, but generally this aspect is painful. The experience that now these two planets will have with each other will be quite different. Even though the aspect is a square, those two planets will relate to each other extremely well because the basic nature of those two planets is very loving and harmonious. So here we have a Venus that loves everything noble and luxurious, and a moon that will love, for instance, nature and good food and a good life. And what happens in reality is that the person with this constellation will try to combine these qualities in order to reduce this tension, like a tension between wanting to eat much, where the moon in Taurus, for instance, and a Venus that likes noble things. So the moon will tend to eat a little less and very high quality food, right? So probably this is going to play out that way. Overall, this will be very calm and very harmonious as an aspect, strongly contrasted to the previous example that we saw. So now we come to the sextile. The sextile is an aspect that we receive if we divide the 360-degree circle by 6. The recommended orbis is 3 degrees in general for the lights and for the planets. Please don't use more because the aspect is already very small. So if we interpret between 57 and 63 degrees, this is already enough. It's actually half a trine and is interpreted as lightly supportive, like as a half of a trine. And the trine would be extremely supportive and the sextile would be lightly supportive. So that's the difference. This is how you would work it. It's a helpful and harmonious aspect and has Venus qualities. While the trine has Jupiter qualities, the sextile is Venus-like. Now we come to the aspects that are not in the category of the main aspect, but also still stronger and relevant aspects. First up, the quintile. We receive the quintile when we divide the 360 degrees by 5. This is also where the name comes from. The orbis is recommended with plus minus 1 degree. Please do not use the quintile with more of an orbis, so we can work a quintile between 71 and 73 degrees. Other than that, it's not a quintile anymore. The quintile interprets as divine harmony, like the golden ratio, And you may have noticed if you divide 360 degrees by 5, you can connect those 5 points and out comes a 5-pointed star. All right. Up next is a semisextile. This is like half a sextile, 30 degrees. If we divide the 360 degree circle by 12, we will receive our semisextile. This is also an aspect that doesn't allow any more than 1 degree of orbis for the interpretation. So it's a very supportive, nice, but still delicate aspect because it's already so small and not a main aspect, so to say. Sometimes it's not noticeable. The quincunx is an interesting aspect of 150 degrees. It's maybe a little bit of Neptune quality, irrational, interdisciplinary, unclear, magical, and very advanced. So planets that are connected by a quincunx are typically of some magical relation. The quincunx is also a main component of the Yod aspect figure. You may check out our other video that we have especially dedicated to the Yod figure, which connects 3 planets with twice 150 degree quincunx and a sextile. Up next is the semi-square. It's a half square, as the name indicates, and it's used with 45 degrees with an orbis of 1 degree, like the other side aspects that we saw. A semi-square would indicate a mild tension between the planets involved, and it's a little stingy. Maybe it's a mild Mars-like aspect. And our last aspect in this lesson is the sesquicadrat. We arrive at the 135 degrees that will be used for this aspect by adding up a square of 90 degrees and a semi-square of 45 degrees. This combination results in an interpretation with tensions, surprising and sudden energy, out of the blue energy, and almost without prior indication things would happen. This is also another reason why this is an Uranus-like aspect. You recognize the qualities of Uranus already in the description here. All right, that's it. See you in the next lesson. We hope you find useful content on this channel and appreciate your feedback. Thanks for your comments. Please comment also what interests you. We'll try to cater to the most requested themes first. Please also subscribe to stay updated with free content every Sunday. Remember to activate notifications if you wish to be informed about new content. Thank you for your interest and see you again soon on this channel.